I could see everything for what it was, and then instead of I think we all will carry some of those mistakes or regrets, whatever whatever we want to title it. But it helped me to kind of start letting them go, to be like, I wrote about it. We're gonna share this. It's in the past. I can't do anything about it now. And that's one of those things, well, you can't do anything about it now, but you can change how you're going forward. And I was like, yeah, okay. But I'm still holding on to it. But it helped me to really maybe not let go fully, but loosen up on the grip that my past has had on me. So I can just go, you know what? I don't like what I did, but I don't hate who I was. I don't hate who I am, because I think for the longest time, that's the biggest thing. I think, and it touches in the book there somewhere too, that I drank because I hated who I was. And when I was finally able to, look at it and go like, I don't hate anymore. These things about me, that writing really helped me to do that. And that's another, takeaway too. If I were to sit down with somebody like, hey, we're all going through some struggles. Here's mine on full public display. Go ahead and see that there's a way out. There's a way out of that. There's a way through it. There's a way out of it. All that kind of stuff too. So,
everybody, welcome back to Living the Next Chapter, the author podcast. We get to meet amazing authors from around the world. One thing I truly love on this show is meeting men and women who have served their country, have come back to us, and have written about their story. And I learned so much from these conversations, because I think we, as people who have never done what these people have done, can learn a lot from the lessons they learn, and also creating a great space for these people to come back to. I think that's something that we can do as we hear these conversations. And what I'm encouraging everyone to do is to go buy a copy of Chris's book, even while you're listening to this on your phone. A couple clicks and you can have the book on its way. But in that, you're just supporting great authors and great storytellers and people, again, who have served their country. So that's my encouragement for you as we start. I usually do this at the end, Chris, but we'll do it at the beginning. Okay. Go buy a copy of Walking Away from the Ledge from Chris Kruger. It's a great book. I have my copy with me right here. I'm going to show it on camera while we're chatting. But Chris is here with us today. We're going to be talking about his journey, his service to his country, and more and more and more. Chris, welcome to the podcast. Glad to have you here.
Thank you so much, Dave. Really appreciate it. Appreciate that intro.
Excellent. There you go. That was good. I like that. Again, I just thank you for what you do and how you and your brothers and sisters serve your country, our country, globally. It's amazing to meet people like you. I don't know if I can do what you have done. I don't know if I have it. I would like to say that I have it, but reading through this book, I'm getting a real sense of what you've seen, where you've lived, and some of the experiences you've had. You take me out into the field with you, and I love what you've done here. Chris, tell everybody where you are first in this big world of ours. Let's start there.
I am in Huntsville, Alabama, but I am originally from Spokane, Washington. So with the military came moves, and the shortest version is this is where we end up retiring at. Yeah, we like it here. There's plenty to do. There could be more, but we're enjoying living here.
Excellent. Tell me about your family, Chris.
So my wife, Genevieve, she's doing her podcast. That's how you guys met. Hidden Chapters, which kind of flows along with my book too. It's very hidden chapter of my life. Not to them, of course, because they lived through most all of it with me. 2 daughters. One is 15 and driving, and that's an experience all its own.
Whoa.
Yeah, I think that'll be a good conversation some other time. And the other one is just turning 13. So 2 official teenagers. They act like it, but without the disrespect. So we kind of keep that in check as best we can. So, but yeah, just smart girls and a wonderful wife, and just trying to enjoy life as best we can through everything it throws at us.
Wow. Is there basic training for a 15 and a 13-year-old? I don't know.
Maybe I could create, so maybe I could write a book on that some other time, but I'm living through it at the moment, kind of like I was with the book there. So yeah,
Amazing.
definitely no manual
Well,
for it anyway.
no, no, not yet. Maybe that's your job
It
because
very well could
your
be.
book is out. You got to write another one. I like it. So, Walking Away from the Ledge
Yes.
is your book. When did the book come out, Chris?
Just came out August 5th.
Oh,
Pre-orders,
geez.
yeah, pre-order started mid-July, 15th, 20th, somewhere around there. But yeah, officially launched on August 5th.
Wow. So this is like a baby brand new
Oh
book. I
yeah, yeah.
love this.
So
This is
so
awesome.
that ink is still fresh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, I'm glad. I'm happy to have a copy of it. I'm enjoying it already. Again, I just got it yesterday, and I think I'm already three chapters in already. It's amazing. I feel like I'm right there beside you. I love how you've kind of brought the reader along already. It's really great. I'm curious, Chris, from your perspective, like, was writing something that you've always thought you're going to end up doing in this season of your life, or like, how did this kind of come for you?
Yeah, no, it is definitely not what I ever expected. Me joining the army is something I never expected either, and there was kind of the path that we led to. I could always write okay. Um, your basic essays, your 5 paragraph essays, and things like that, and I could always do those things, just fine. And then in 2018, while I was still in, still in the army, that is, I was started working on my associate's degree. I was like, let me get this knocked out before I retire anyway. And so I had to take, English 101 and Math 101 or something to that effect. And, I got finished the English one with like a 98 and all the writing assignments went well. So I was like, oh, okay. All right. I guess this is something I'm a little bit better at than I thought. And, I didn't think much of it and I finished it out. And still maintained a 4.0 with my associates, and every single semester had some sort of writing course in it. So I was like, oh, okay, so I can write, but I didn't think much of it at the time, and I still didn't think of that as my future either. So um, it just kind of rolled like that, and I just went with it. I was like, okay, cool. And most people, when they retire from the military, they get out and they just roll right into a job where they are doing kind of what they did in the military, but the civilian version of it. And I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
That was aviation for me. And I was not interested. A lot of people love it, but I wasn't in love with aviation. So I was like, I don't know what I want to do. I'm going to take a little time off. So that's kind of what I did after I got out.
Okay. What would be helpful for an author, maybe who's coming out of the service, who wants to write a book? They don't know the starting point.
Yeah.
They look at your book and go, well, Chris did it, and I see myself in the pages of Chris's book. I have a different story, a different experience, but I would love to have a copy of my story like Chris has.
Yeah.
Where would be a starting point if you were sitting over coffee with somebody else from the service, and it's kind of a starting point for them? How would you encourage them to get out and write their story?
So if they had some writing experience, just I would encourage them to expand upon it. If they were like me, minimal, wasn't confident in it, just do basically what I did. I just started writing about what I knew, and the writing journey for me was, as we were kind of talking before, was an accidental author because I just started writing out of wanting my family to be able to hand something to their kids to know what I did while I was in the army. So my grandfathers on both sides, I don't know much about what they did, where they came from, how they came into those things. And when I asked my parents, they're like, well, we kind of don't know all the details. So I just want to make sure I was handing something to my kids where it's not years down the road. And their kids are asking about, well, what did grandpa do or whatever? Where did he come from? So that they knew, they would have something. And I never journaled and I never enjoyed that. So, if I was talking to someone, they're like, I journal all the time. I'm like, there you go. You got a starting point. That's too easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I never did. And I even had a buddy ask me like, how did you get these stories so well? Did you journal this whole time you're in? I was like, no, I just went by memory. So
Really?
yeah. So I was like, just and you're going to lose a little perspective, a little point of view over the years and things like that. So and before editing, it was pretty heavy in there, where I was like, I don't recall the details directly, and the editor basically was like, hey, it doesn't matter, it's been years, people can see that. If someone's going to nitpick over it, don't worry about it. But to go back on the question there, I would say, if you're thinking about writing, even if you're uncomfortable with it, just sit down at a computer, sit down with a piece of paper and a pen if you want, and just start jotting it down, or even kind of an outline. I just started at the beginning, and for me, the beginning was 2000 is when I joined the Army, and then so I tried to do kind of like a hook thing that was kind of a miss when it came to editing, by starting out in Iraq in 2003, about getting ready to cross the border, cross the border into Iraq from Kuwait. And then I was like, oh wait, let me back up and tell you how I got here. And it was going to be this kind of comical turn of events and stuff. That once we got in the editing process, it was like, hey, I want to use this as a hook, which I won't divulge. You've already read, but
Yes.
and I was like, I do not want to start there. I don't want to open the book with that at all. If anything, what the prologue is, I wanted to sneak it in there and let it get glossed over instead of bringing it front and center. And so that's kind of how we went there. But yeah, those are just some of the details of the journey. But yeah, starting out, just write with what you know. If it's creative writing, go with it. And if it's not, if it's the experience, what I tried to do was put as much emotion into the experience, or into the writing, as I could. And I think in the end, we have a product that portrayed that really well.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I got to ask too, just because I'm staring at it while we're chatting.
Huh?
The cover of the book.
Yeah.
Where did this come from? I love it, by the way. I love how it wraps around. I'm holding it like this is such a nice book to hold too. But tell me about the cover.
It's beautiful, and that was the publisher.
Okay.
So there's different types of publishing out there to go with, and you never would have known Chris Kruger had you not come down this route that you came to know me. Same thing with major publishing agencies. So I used the people that I had come in contact with to get to publishing. We met, and well, kind of like we're doing here, it was a Zoom call, and got the feel for one another and wanted to work with each other. She also happened to be, before she started her publishing company, she worked for one of the major publishing companies out there, and she was also the design editor for covers and things like that. So she was the one who designed that, and she gave me about 8 options, and I think we all kind of do this. We kind of save that best for last type of thing. So I was sitting down with Genevieve, my wife there, and we were looking at them, and we're like, oh, this one's nice. This one's nice. And we both got to that one. We were like, we really like this one. The font, the color, the everything, there, you can tell there's a ledge right there and all that stuff. Because some of the other ones had them, like a cliff and, someone kind of standing there and distance and stuff. But yeah, that was all the publisher's design, and we loved it, and so that was the one we went with, and I am getting a lot of good feedback on that too. Like, oh, I love this cover, this is great. I'm like, the winning.
It's amazing. Chris, talk a little bit about your service too. Like, where did you start in the service? I know you've done many different things in your time.
Yeah.
Kind of like, what was your starting point? Where did you end up serving and retiring from? Kind of, can you give us an overview?
Sure. So I joined in, my start date was June 20th, 2000. And, young kid from the Pacific Northwest. And I waited a few years. So I was just before I turned 21 before I headed off. And, a humid day in the summer in Spokane isn't very humid at all. And so I get off the plane in Atlanta in June, and I'm just standing there sweating like what's going on here? This is miserable. So that entire summer in Georgia, I was just like, I'm just not going to stop sweating, I guess, is pretty much how this is going to go. and adapted to it and all that stuff. But it did basic training and airborne school down in Fort Benning, Georgia, um, all the way up until about December, and then I headed off to my first unit in long range surveillance company, Fox Company 51st Infantry long range surveillance company in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. And normally when you go to units, you kind of you do some time there, and you can stay longer, especially when you're just enlisted. I was a private when I got there. You can kind of stay in places a little bit longer than once you make some rank, they kind of want you to move around and all that stuff. But I also got lost in the mix of deployments. So we just kept deploying to Iraq starting in 2003 with the invasion, and just kind of it resets what they call your dwell time. So it just, once you get back from that deployment, you kind of reset, like, oh, you just got here type of thing. So you can kind of stay longer. That and our deployments were back to back real quick, because we returned from that first one a year later, right around January 2004. And we were right back in Kuwait to head back into Iraq before Thanksgiving in 2004. So about 8 months we were home for. But in that time, I met my wife, so that was kind of funny too. But
Nice.
and then we got back, and I actually had almost 2 years after that one, and we headed back over in 2007 for a 15-month deployment. And after that, I was like, I've had enough. Let me switch over. So I switched over to aviation to go fly helicopters. And there's a whole thing in the book about that. The short version is I didn't get the airframe I wanted, so I got stuck with Blackhawks.
Stuck.
But yeah, I didn't want it. I wanted something with guns on it, so I can go and engage the enemy, right? So, I made peace with flying Blackhawks. It's a phenomenal aircraft. If it's well maintained, it'll fly forever, and it's not hard to work on and keep up and flying, and very safe and all that stuff too. But I did that for the remainder from 2009 to 2022, earning the rank of CW3. That's Chief Warrant Officer 3. And retiring as a CW3 Black Hawk maintenance test pilot. And
Wow.
my official retirement date was December 1st, 2022. So I think my final our DD 214, or our freedom form as we call it, had 22 years, 5 months, and 29 days. So a day short of that 6 month. But yeah, that was
Wow.
And in that time we moved from Fort Bragg down to Fort Rucker in Alabama, which is about it was about 4.5 hours south of where we're at in Huntsville, to Fort Campbell, that's on the Tennessee-Kentucky border. We were there for about 5 years. Got stationed in Hawaii for 3 years. Absolutely loved it as a place to go on Oahu, but I was here, there, and everywhere during training and stuff. So it was kind of a bummer for that, but I mean, it is the Army. And then we finished out in Fort Drum, New York, which might as well be just, it was about an hour from was that about I don't know, about 2 hours from where you're at there in Niagara Falls.
Okay.
Yeah, and then on down to Huntsville, Alabama. So it was kind of the move around in the jobs.
Well, so for your listening, and you're like, Fort Campbell, is that named after me, Dave Campbell? No, it's not named after me. Just in case you're wondering, I'm not that popular, but I do like the name of that fort. That's one I got to go see. That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so in your time of service, like, I have no idea how this works. So that's why I'm asking. How do you learn how to fly a Black Hawk helicopter? Had you ever flown anything before going in and serving? Like,
no, I hadn't.
Okay, where do you even start to learn how to fly something like this?
So it all starts in flight school, of course. They call it they may call it something different now, but it was a initial entry rotary wing, so IERW, and you learn on a Bell something or other. It's a TH-67. Pretty much like your average news helicopter that you see flying around. And so they start you on that, very basic. Let's go hover, and the thing has no it has hydraulics, but it doesn't have any advanced system. And that's why after you move out of that, they say you're moving on to your advanced airframe, because it has a lot more advanced systems that help you hover, that help keep you flying straight and level, automated flight, and all this other kind of stuff. But so they start you out on that with the basics, so you learn, holding the controls, manipulating the controls, and how an input in the cyclic, which is forward, back, left, and right, or the collective, which is coming up, coming down, affects the pedals, or they all affect each other. But then when you move to the advanced airframe, they affect each other less, which is fantastic. Just makes it easier, offloads the pilot responsibilities while flying. So yeah, they teach you in that. So you just do some traffic pattern work with an instructor. You go fly around, and if you're lucky, you get a good one who helps you, and if you're not so lucky, you get one who's just kind of like, your airspeed's off, your altitude's off, and would they wait for you to correct it? And I was like, oh my gosh, like help me out a little more here. So. And then it moves on to instrument flight. So you're just flying using instrumentation, kind of like airline pilots use. They fly off of instruments and all that stuff. So you learn that. You do 2 months of the first one, then 2 months of instruments, and then you get 1 month of they call it basic warfighting skills, and it's basically a month of just kind of going out there and having fun with the helicopter. Actually, for once, just flying low over the trees. You plot a route and you go fly your route, and then after that, they're like, "Cool, you flew your route. Let's go play around here. Let's go to this field over here and all that stuff." And you have a good time with it. And then we moved on to the Black Hawk. And I had I think it was about 2 months in between flying the trainer and the Black Hawk. So I was very nervous. And then you bring it up to a hover, and it just basically wants to kind of hold it all by itself. And you're like, what is going on here? It's a whole new experience. Even though it's bigger, it's just so much better. And then faster, you can carry more stuff and all that. And then you kind of go through the same thing, just with this new aircraft. And so traffic patterns, figuring out how to fly when they turn off the hydraulics. That's an interesting thing, because then you're just everything's at real weight, so you're muscling this aircraft around, type of thing. And then instruments for that too, so you can just see the difference, the controls, and then one more of basic combat skills. But then they throw night flight into there too, so you're flying with NVGs on. They have the 2-barrel, the 2 optic NVGs, so you can see in 3D, and all that stuff. So that brings in a new angle to it too. So and then after that, they're like, it's basically like, all right, you've done good enough to go fly at a unit, and then it's everything you just learned in an accelerated level, because they need you flying, they need you capable to go out there and fly missions in combat environments. So, once you jump into it, it's kind of a whirlwind, but, just stay in the books and studying and all that. And, you getting out there and flying and everything. It's, when you keep on top of it, there's, oh, hey, this guy's doing good. Let's fly him more than this guy's not doing so good, kind of thing. And get a little more flight hours when they know you care about it too. So yeah, that's the couple minute rundown of flight school and getting to the first unit. It's crazy, and it's a ton of studying.
Do you self-identify that you're interested in that, or do they see that in you and say you'll be good for this?
It was self-identified.
Okay.
Yeah. I knew I wanted to fly when we were in Iraq in 2003, and I saw the Kiowas, which are kind of like those trainers. They're kind of like your average news helicopter flying around, and they have guns strapped to the side, and they're flying low over the convoys with us, doing security out to the side and trying to give us advance warning and all this stuff. And I was like, that looks like fun. That looks like a lot more fun than driving this hunker of a truck, with guys in the back just waiting to get blown up, type of thing. I was like, that looks like a blast. So that's when I knew I wanted to do it. I just shouldn't have waited so long to go do it, I suppose. Yeah.
Okay. But you got out then, but why, what was it about flight that you're like, I want something else?
The Army has a way to ruin everything that's fun. If you like shooting, then you go do it with body armor and helmet and all the other gear on. And of course, you've got to train how we fight, but, it just takes the fun out of it. Airborne operations, here's all your gear and all that. And of course, you have to train like you fight. But it just takes all the fun out of it. And I was burnt out. I really was.
Yeah.
There's, I mean, I could talk for at length on that one, but that was just the big part. I was burnt out, and then because I was in the maintenance realm as well, the civilian portions of the job would still entail me to, like today we have a real feel of 105 degrees with the heat index. So I wouldn't want to be out there trying to do an engine high speed shaft balance in the middle of all that, which involves running up the helicopter, letting it sit for 5 minutes, taking a reading, shutting it down, making an adjustment, running it back up to see if it's good or if I need to make another adjustment, all while just being drenched in sweat type of thing. And then a lot of the other maintenance checks are the same way. So I was like, I'm good. I'm good. I don't want to do that.
No.
Sweating my backside off on a flight line, or inverse of that, it's February. We just had a cold spell come through, but it's got to get done, so you freeze your backside off trying to get all that stuff done too. So, and then they may be advanced airframes, but they don't have air conditioning and the heater doesn't work great. So, yeah.
No creature comforts.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
Enough to get the job done.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay. So what's the big idea for the book? What is, for the reader's perspective, what can I anticipate when I get my copy of Walking Away from the Ledge? Like, if you could have a few moments with a reader before they start reading, what do you want to tell them about this book?
Yeah, so it's gonna take. Let me say. So we did try to make it so that it would appeal, even though it's an army, a military story, that it would appeal to everybody because of the struggles portrayed in there, the struggles that I went through, the disappointments, the unmet expectations, I believe would be the best way to put it, of my service in there. So, so we talked about those struggles, those disappointments. I would say that for someone sitting down to getting ready to read it, try to pull that out from there and identify it and see what I did. And that the biggest part at the end of it is me trying to encourage people to go and seek the help that they need in the struggles that they have. Because, we talked about all the training and all the stuff and some of the things that I just laid out here and way more and in way more detail. But at the end, I was struggling and I didn't even go to seek help for mental health, behavioral health, whatever you want to call it, until my 18th year, because everyone's afraid of the stigma that follows with it. So, if you're reading it and it sounds like fun, there was a lot of fun. But at the same time, it produced a lot of struggle in me. And the irony is it wasn't so much the physical portions of the thing, it was all the mental stuff, just trying to process it. So, like I said, when you're reading, think about those things. And if my book encourages you to talk about your story, doesn't matter if it's civilian or army, go seek that help, tell your story, and there's healing in that. And that's what I took away from writing about it. And that's why I say right from a place of experience, because these were my experiences and it really helped me process it, put it into perspective, that I could look back on it after the fact and just kind of put it in its place and go, okay, I could have handled that better, but maybe I didn't have the tools at the time necessarily to handle it better. We have to do all this resiliency training and stuff like that in the military to help us bounce back when we're feeling low. But you can sit here in a class and give the right answers, but when you have to apply it, right, it's a little more challenging to do because you're living in the moment. It's got to go beyond positive self-talk and seeking out that help. But that's the biggest thing is, there's going to be a lot of like, wow moments reading that, like, I can't believe this happened. He did this, he responded like that, but I was living in the moment, and I can look back at it now and just go like, ugh, why didn't I handle that better? Why did I do that?
Yeah. Well,
because I needed help and I was just too stubborn to go get it. It's not necessarily a pride thing either. I was just too stubborn to go do it. And a lot of times with aviation, if you go seek behavioral health, you get a down slip so you can't fly. And it was finally at, so So, and it was summer of 2018. So I had been in aviation for 8 years at that point. I'd been a maintenance test pilot for 4 years at that point. And I was like, okay, I don't care if I don't ever, I remember kind of, looking in the mirror and going, I don't care if I don't ever fly again. I need to go get help. And that's more important right now. And that would be, the biggest takeaway I would say is just, when you're reading it, see it, enjoy the stories and all that stuff, but realize that it's not a self-help book. It's showing you the build-up to how I identified that I needed to go get help rather than sit here. Because I've tried plenty of self-help things and they work for a while, but
right.
There's a time where you need to go and get help, and don't wait until it's too long. And I think also with the title at first, walking away from the ledge, it's literal. You'll get there, but
yeah.
But it has morphed into something more for me that I see that I didn't even realize until a couple months ago. Was it's also walking away from that ledge is those behaviors that even lead you up to that edge. I realize not everybody's on the same religious level. For me as a Christian, that would be walking away from the sin of my life. For someone else, it might be just walking away from what they would call a destructive behavior. And I'm not trying to go down that road, but that's what it was for me. It was walking away from the ledge has become the ledge is those destructive behaviors, those things that are leading me up to it anyway. So even just walking away from all that is what the title has morphed into for me. And I think even sharing that, people that would read it can sit here and say, like, oh, I see that. I see that's real. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, when I flip the book over, I always kind of like to see what the categories are for the book as well. It's one of my first thing I look at. So I see memoir, military. I also see addiction on the back of the book.
Yes.
Can we talk a little bit about how this book goes down that path? Because I'm interested in how your struggles presented themselves.
Absolutely.
And kind of that side of it, because I think the people listening would really benefit from hearing a little bit about that part of your story too.
Sure, absolutely. So the main struggle I had was with alcohol. And it developed in my teens. And it was just, at that point, a means to kind of go have fun with my friends and, go screw around, right? For lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And then, once it got out of high school, started working, everyone's like, hey, we're going here, we're going there, so it was more prevalent, more often. And then, in the military, it's always discouraged, but it's always there. You always drink responsibly. It's kind of like those resiliency classes, just like, hey, and if you're drinking too much, go get help. But, everyone just looks the other way. I think over the years, I've seen it become more of a thing where it's been encouraged to go like seek help if you think, and talk to people about it if it's an issue. And I had battled sobriety plenty of times. I really, I was thinking about just today, actually, I was like, man, I should be celebrating nearly 20 years in sobriety from the first time I quit drinking. And it surprises counselors when I say, because I've been through, plenty of therapies and things where I said, oh yeah, no, I've had good runs, 2 years here, 2 years there. They're like, really? I said, yeah. It's like, why is it such a surprise to you? That's not common for most military people. Once they kind of, are seeking that comfort, that warm and fuzzy you get from alcohol, they kind of stick with it. And I was like, no, it was so bad. Like my drinking was so bad that that was the only answer at the time. And then, relapse happen gradually. So I'd be like, oh, it's been 2 years. I can control myself now. I'll be good. No big deal. And for a while it would be, it'd be just like that. A couple drinks on the weekend, a glass of wine with my wife, whatever. And then next thing you know, I'm like, it's been a bad day. I'm just going to go, pick up something a little heavier this time, or maybe more than a 6-pack or something. And then it would just gradually get down that road where it's like, I got to do something. Deployment would come up, a 15-month deployment. And it's like, okay, I'm just not going to drink on this deployment. One, we're not allowed to. And, there's issues with that anyway.
Right.
And so I'm just like, okay, cool. And then we get back from this deployment, and they're like, as long as I'm under control, I'm good. Everything will be okay. And I would keep control for a while, and then I would just be right there at that ledge and fall off into alcoholism all over again. And so I had, a 2-year stint, another 2-year stint, and then a nearly 3-year stint that I threw away because I was in 2021, and I was on a downslip. I wasn't flying. I forget why. And it wasn't behavioral health at that point. And I was at my wit's end, on my last nerve, whatever, with our chain of command from bottom to top, I think. And I was just like, I got home and I was like, I really want to have a drink. And Jenny basically said, like, well, you're a big boy, just keep it under control. And I was like, all right. So, I threw away, I think it was like 2 years and 9 months or something like that around there of sobriety, just so I could have a drink. And it went bad. Like, people noticed and were saying things, not just my wife, either coworkers, if we were, getting together after, for, meetings and things like that we would have, alcohol available there, and I would just tumble again. And so finally, after I retired and we got down here, it kind of came to a head, and I knew it was getting there anyway. And finally, Jenny just looked me in the eye and she goes, you need to pick one. It's either us or alcohol. And I was like, okay, all right. Wow. So New Year of 23, I was like, it's gone, it's done, and I haven't looked back since. So another 2 years, 8 months, and 19 days. Today's the 19th. So another 2 years, 8 months. So not my longest stint yet, but it's getting there. And that's what I was saying, man. I was wishing today, I was like, man, I should be getting ready to celebrate 20 years of sobriety, but hey, I'll take the win, right? I just can't, I can't sit here and just get down on what could have been, because that's even something that could lead me right back to that ledge, so.
Right.
So yeah, but that was, and the alcohol too was also just kind of, I didn't like who I was, who I was kind of not forced to be, but there's a certain mentality in the infantry, to be, and I didn't like it. So I think, I had to be one way at work, and then I'd get to the barracks at the end of the day and just like, oh, this isn't who I want to be. And I would, throw a few back, a few too many. So yeah, that's the addiction that I struggled with, and, really leaning into my family, to my faith, into, working out again, and getting it was like 2023. I was like, okay, it's got to be holistic. It can't just be one thing. Like, I'm just going to stop drinking. It had to be like, I needed a complete, at least a 90-degree shift, if not a complete 180. And then 6 months after that, that's when the book kind of happened. I'll just dive into that real quick. So the journey really started in 2021. When I thought about, like, hey, let me write the story so I have something to hand to my kids, which I won't let them read it until they're at least 18 now, because of what it's become. But and the questions they're going to have. But I was drinking heavily at the time, so I'd sit there and write a few pages and like, this is stupid, and walk away. And so when I finally came back to it in May of 23 and sat down and started doing it, I told Jenny, I said, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to commit half an hour a day. And she's like, okay, great. And next thing you know, I'm sitting at the computer for like 6 hours, and I would get done and I would just be emotionally drained from what I was putting down there and making it real, of all the stuff I went through, I did, and not just like the schools, but like what I did to other people, my behavior and all that stuff, or even the things that happened to me. I was just drained. And so I just wanted to have something to continue to have that outlet, that whole cathartic process of writing. And that's, again, why I say just write what you've experienced, write those things that you have experience with, because then in the end, it'll help those struggles that we're all going through too.
Right.
Yeah.
So how did you change in the process of writing then? What happened for you personally?
I could see everything for what it was, and then
Yeah.
instead of I think we all will carry some of those mistakes or regrets, whatever whatever we want to title it. But it helped me to kind of start letting them go, to be like, I wrote about it. We're gonna share this. It's in the past. I can't do anything about it now. And that's one of
Right.
those things, well, you can't do anything about it now, but you can change how you're going forward. And I was like, yeah, okay. But I'm still holding on to it. But it helped me to really maybe not let go fully, but loosen up on the grip that my past has had on me. So I can just go, you know what?
Mm.
I, I don't like what I did, but I don't hate who I was. I don't hate who I am, because I think for the longest time, that's the biggest thing. I think, and it touches in the book there somewhere too, that I drank because I hated who I was.
Mm.
Um, and and when I was finally able to, look at it and go like, I don't I don't hate anymore. These things about me, that writing really helped me to do that. And that's another takeaway too. If I were to sit down with somebody like, hey, we're all going through some struggles.
Yeah.
Here's mine on full public display. Go ahead
Yeah.
and see that there's a way out. There's a way out of that. There's a way through it. There's a way out of it. All that kind of stuff too. So, yeah.
There's portions of the book that didn't make it into the book, some stories and things that have been kind of not included,
Yeah.
but there's still a way for us to read about those as well. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yep. So if you check out a website called Parade Deck, go to their blog section, which I believe it's all right there on the cover page.
Okay.
And just type in "Walking Away from the Ledge." There's 22 total volumes. I think they're still posting. I had them scheduled to publish. I think a couple more still have to publish this week. But there's 22 total volumes, all about 5 minutes a piece. I tried to keep them, at about that 1,000 to 1,200 word part, and they jump around a little bit, but if it fills in the blanks of the book. So like I was saying, 8 or 9 pages of Ranger School stories they're just comical. Like how do these guys make it through this with no sleep, no food, and on occasion no resupply and all this other junk. Just the funny stuff that was in there, or the just the things you have to deal with. Because when you're there, you're with enlisted or you're with officers, but you don't know because you don't wear rank, because everyone's just you're a ranger going through the course.
Right.
And so it's just kind of, but like we know, because we'll talk as students and all that stuff. You're like, God, I have to deal with this officer, man, while I'm going through this or whatever. But there's some funny. Let's see what else I can remember. There was some funny. We had a water train up at Virginia Beach, out on our Zodiac boats, and someone took an injury, so that one's pretty funny. It sounds bad, but it's actually kind of funny. Especially infantry guys, if there's blood, it's funny. And unless something's missing, unless a piece is missing,
Yeah,
but someone getting hurt, whatever, it's funny.
Yeah.
And just some of those stories in there. But yeah, so if something in there in the book feels kind of like, oh, that's short, he didn't talk about that very much, it's probably in the blog there. There's probably a cut list in there, and like I said, they're about almost all available now. They will be by the end of the week, and there was 22 versions there. So we cut,
Nice.
but yeah, we ended up cutting about 40,000 words from the book to make it into the book that it is now. And again, that was just, and I could have put a ton more in there, but I was like, this isn't important. This doesn't matter, whatever, as I was going through it. But yeah, I still had a ton more material to work with. So.
Wow. So besides that website with the extras, is there another place that we want to send people to be part of your world and to follow your journey as an author and into the future? Is there another place to send them as well?
So finding Chris Kruger on Facebook would be probably the easiest one. That's where I have the kind of the most following or most friends that are interested. I'm trying to expand on Instagram a little more. And I do want to do some kind of video things. And I have to follow up with that
Okay.
too. LinkedIn is LinkedIn, and I don't like LinkedIn, so I don't spend a lot of time there. I'm working on a Substack,
Oh, okay.
but yeah, Facebook, Chris Kruger, it's me. You'll see the beard on the
Yeah.
profile picture, and then on for Instagram and Substack right now, it's the Accidental Author, which I came up with after we talked last time because like
Yeah.
I mentioned that and I was like, that'd be a good handle. I was like, that's gonna be my handle, so that's mine.
Good.
Yeah,
A totally unrelated question.
yeah.
You like to ride? Tell me about your ride. Come on.
Oh, it's too hot right now, but yeah, the 2008 Ducati Monster S2R 1000. They couldn't make the title any longer on it, but that was my first leader bike, and you know it wasn't running when I got it, so I had to rebuild the fuel pump. I do not like doing that work, but you know it feels pretty good being able to do that and like, oh hey, I got it running. That's great. You know, after replacing spark plugs, the battery, the fuel injectors, and everything else, I thought it was,
Hmm.
but uh, you know, before that, I had a 2014 Yamaha Bolt, and before
Hmm.
that, I had a 2009 Yamaha FZ6R. So I do like Yamahas, and the Ducati came to me, and I was like, all right, let's get it going, and love the bike. It loves to corner. You know, accidental author, accidental wheelie one day. Me and another guy got right.
Oh,
Yeah, me and another guy got right next to each other, and we kind of head nodding like nice bike, nice bike. And I didn't mean to, but I got on the throttle just nice and smooth, but a little faster than normal. And when I shifted in the second, I realized the front tire was off the ground. When it popped back down, I was like, oh, I didn't mean to do that. So, you know, I'm definitely not a track guy or anything like that, but you know, I love trying to just getting a little more aggressive or a little more comfortable into corners and things like that with it. And it's fantastic bike. Ducati's like owning a motorcycle version of a Black Hawk, man. It wants to leak, you know. It's easy to work on a little bit, but
hmm.
it wants to make you work for it sometimes. So it's just frustrating,
There you
but
go.
yeah, it's great riding. I love it, and the girls love riding with me on it too. So
Excellent.
yeah.
Amazing. You're going to come back for my other podcast, Dad Space. We're going to
Yes,
talk a little bit more of your dad journey. And
yeah,
again, keep talking about walking away from the ledge. I think there's a lot of interesting stuff in here for everyone.
yeah,
Really excited, for you, Chris, and just having this book in the world. I'm really enjoying reading it as a reader. And again, I'm just thankful that you took time to do this and to hear the story behind,
yeah.
writing the book. I think it just gives us some real good perspective into kind of why this book matters to you and why this book would matter to us as well
Yeah.
as readers. So really appreciate you doing this, Chris.
I appreciate you picking it up, and I'm glad you're enjoying it. And you know, for anybody else who picks it up, if you think of somebody who would like, I know someone who's struggling, who's going through a rough patch, you know, that might encourage them. You know, please by all means share it with them. You know, just encourage. That's the biggest thing is just encourage people to seek the help they need. And
Right.
if that's you being the ear, then be that ear, and that's what I'm trying to do more too, because I'm getting a lot more messages of just this is encouraging me to open up, to share, to do that, to get help. I don't think anyone's told me that it's encouraging them to go get help, but it's encouraging them to talk and share and all that stuff. And so, 'cause I think a lot of people, military wise, they get out and they're like, that chapter's done, I'm moving on to the next, and they think they can just
Hmm.
check it at the door, but it just doesn't work like that. So,
Yeah. And that's kind of why I called the podcast Living the Next Chapter.
yeah,
Good segue there, Chris.
yeah,
For you as a writer, are you going to continue writing now that this is out in the world? You got more stories to tell?
that's a tough one because, like I
Hmm.
said, the accidental portion of being an author and all that. I don't, I had kind of teased about writing a leadership book, but it would be like a upside down leadership because I don't have your 5, 7, 9 steps to be an effective
Yeah.
leader. I have what I know worked for me, because even through all those things, the struggles and all that stuff, there's a lot of people that are like, Kruger was great, and I know there's a handful of people out there who are like, I hate Kruger, but for the most part, and those are some of the messages I'm getting too. Like, man, you were a fantastic leader. I'm loving this book. I remember this time XYZ, and I didn't even remember the story myself. I was like, Hey, I'm glad I impacted you in your career that
Yeah.
way. Thank you so much. That makes me feel better. So, I'm getting to take that away too. But yeah, I joked about the writing a leadership book, but it would just be, it'd have to be a short story because it'd be like, lead with morale, just to care about your
Mm.
people. And I think I just summed it up right there. So I'd have to expand that into, 200 and some odd pages. I don't know how to do that, but, I haven't written off writing again, haha. But
Yeah, well done.
I don't have currently anything on my plate as it is.
Okay. Okay, well, we'll just keep our hopes up because I'm enjoying the book. You have a gift. I know you have more stories for us.
Yeah.
So maybe something's in the future. And again, leveraging the name of the show, Living the Next Chapter, I'm just encouraging when I see a great author, I hope to see more from you in the future, Chris. It's a great book. Everyone needs to go grab a copy and leave a great review as well. I know Chris would love to hear your thoughts about the book.
I really
Yeah,
appreciate that.
keep doing
Thank
it.
you so much. I really appreciate that. Yeah.
Excellent. And we'll get you some people subscribing to your Substack. That's a great idea. That's a great way to
Okay.
communicate
Yeah.
with people. So, all right.
I'll put a little more work into it then. It's kind of bare right now.
Excellent. Everyone, all the links, as always, in the show notes for Chris, his book, again, Walking Away from the Ledge. Chris Kruger, you're going to love this book. You're going to love to share this book as well. Please, again, like we said, leave a great review when you buy your copy. And Chris, again, thank you so much for making time to be on the show. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Again, thank you so much for being here. And thank you to our guest for being part of Living the Next Chapter. Make sure you go like, follow, share this episode to support your fellow authors. And a reminder to always leave a review every time you buy a book from your favorite author. It means so much to them. It's your words back to the author on why this book means something to you. That's one responsibility that we have as readers, to support our authors by leaving great reviews. I know you've probably forgotten more than you've remembered to leave reviews. So my little ask of you here as we're exiting out of the episode, to go grab that stack of books behind you, put them on your desk, and go to the websites where you purchase these books and leave a review now. I know you bought the book years ago. Go leave a review today. Let the author know how much you love their book. Give really detailed information about why you love this book so much. Let's celebrate our authors by leaving a great review. And thank you for listening to Living the Next Chapter. Thank you for being here. See you next time.